People that have woken up in bed with a stranger. What's your story? Not woke up with one but came home from primary school around 11 years of age. To find a complete stranger in my bed. Being completely naive thinking he was a family friend. I made us both sandwiches to give to him. I returned to my room to find him gone. I now look back at this with complete horror. My family finds it amusing that it took me years to tell my family about it. The fact that your initial reaction to a home invader was to make them a sandwich might be the oddest thing I've read in this thread. I know a guy who went home with a stranger. Went pee in the middle of the night naked. Went back to bed. Woke up to screaming. He had gone back to the wrong room and was naked in her mother's bed. Probably not what you imagined. As a kid, I would sleepwalk at night. In the morning, I would have no recollection of what happened. I spent the night at a friend's house when I was about 10. And the family had a fire going in the fireplace in their living room. My friend's mom decided to sleep on the couch to make sure the fire went out. And the dad went to sleep in the parents' bedroom. Due to the door to their bedroom always being closed. I had never been inside. Was very disorienting the next morning when I awoke in said bedroom. As the dad was just waking up and getting out of his bed. He had assumed during the night I was his son. And didn't question anything when I slipped into bed with him. Kudos to Dad for not making it any more awkward than it already was. And that's the story of how I awoke next to my friend's dad. My freshman year roommate warned me on day one that he was a sleepwalker. A few months later I woke up to a weird smell. Rolled over and saw him standing in front of the microwave watching a whole loaf of bread spin around inside. As the plastic melted and smoke billowed out in his face. I yelled, "Dude, what the feep?" He said, direct quote, "It's fine." And just got back in bed. I ran over and opened the microwave to shut it off. 30 seconds later fire alarms are blaring and the whole building is being evacuated. We get downstairs and I speak you now. He looks at me and says, "I bet some dumb peeper burnt popcorn again." I don't know how that dude even made it to 18 without killing himself. Away at college. Went to a bar. Met a girl. I woke up the next morning in an on-campus apartment sharing a recliner with said girl. Neither of us lived on campus or knew who lived in the apartment we ended up at. How about the opposite? I was out drinking with this girl and her friends I had just met. Ended up going back to their hotel room and hooking up. Fell asleep around 3 a.m. Woke up around 5 a.m. with a bad hangover and completely alone. Somewhere between 3 and 5 the girl and her friends packed their speep and checked out of the hotel while I was asleep. I used to date this really speepy guy. We lived together for 5 years and in that time some hella dicey speep happened. But this one makes the top 5. It was a Sunday night around 2 a.m. I was asleep in bed when I'm woken by that feeling of someone staring at me. Assuming it's my then boyfriend, I tell him I'm trying to sleep and don't want to have sex. Then I hear a laugh I'd never heard before. I fly out of bed and there's this guy sitting on the edge of my bed laughing his ass off. I ask who he is. He says I'm Andrew, boyfriend's buddy. Then he tells me how my ex told him I was a prude and would be mad if he came in our bed, but he didn't believe my ex cause boyfriend was so cool. Why would he date a boring girl? Then he asked if I wanted some coke. I walked out and told my ex to get rid of him and let me sleep since I worked in the morning. His reply, "Well, now that you're up, can you take us to McDonald's?" I was taking a train from Munich to Venice. It was one of those trains that the little rooms have chairs that pull out into beds. An older Italian gentleman came in the room and as the train took off he made the sleep hand gesture. So I crashed out with this old dude. I woke up to him tapping me letting me know we will be in Venice after the next stop. I was around 19 years old and at a weekend festival where most people camped out in tents. I got hammered and blacked out on Saturday and woke up on an air mattress in somebody else's tent. I sat up to get my bearings at some point in the morning and a couple was also in the tent. But not laying on the air mattress. The guy sat up right after me and said, "Buddy, I don't know who you are. But you better get the feep out of here." I didn't stick around to ask any questions. I woke up to the sound of rain hitting the tent I was in, not my tent, and the random guy next to me saying, "Oh, peep. My unicycle." Well, I did. But not in the way that you'd think. So basically I went to sleep in my friend's bed because he got on the sofa and I woke up with a girl next to me. We didn't do anything the night before because multiple people have reported that they saw her coming into the room and just laying down next to me telling them that I was her boyfriend, which I wasn't, and then going to sleep. She may have confused me for her boyfriend, and when I woke up I just snuck out and went home. Undefined. While still living at my parents' house. Woke up after a club night. It was still a bit dark. But I saw someone next to me in my bed. Spent 15 minutes trying to figure who this was before I decided to take a look. Turns out it were my extra blankets I used to fill up the space between bed and wall. Decided I needed a lot more sleep before going out of bed. I woke up with an eye patch on. It was November 1st and I managed to pick up a cute woman who dressed up as a pirate. I was so blackout. I charmed myself into being with someone way out of my league. She would later tell me I couldn't get my dick up, making her regret her decision. Alcohol gives. Alcohol takes away. Not a bed but kind of an abandoned trailer in the middle of the desert. Found shelter, slept in it, woke up, there was another person in there. They didn't know I was in there either. When I stood up and looked around, they were staring at me all wide-eyed and clearly freaked out. I didn't know what to do and we just looked at each other for a little bit. I don't know what to say, so I offered her some corn nuts. We both laughed at that and then we shortly left without asking any questions. That's the closest I ever got to a one-night stand. When I was 11, I went to my friend's place for a horror movie sleepover night. I woke up with a 4-year-old boy who turned out to be her little brother, clinging to all my blankets in fear. He had eavesdropped on our sleepover after pretending to go to bed early, and was now convinced a killer doll would murder him in his sleep. Their mom made us all hot chocolate and then he slept in her bed all night.